G'day, welcome to the closing bell on the 15th of Sep. On the Friday, I'm recording it. And look, we've got our market, the ASX, flying higher today on the Friday. And, next week it could be down again. And this is the year we've had. Looks terrible, looks good, looks terrible. But underneath the surface, we know there's a lot more going on. That mid-cap, small-cap space, I'm going to show you a bunch of charts to give you a sense of what a bloodbath we've seen. And we've got to think about this big picture of, where are the opportunities going to come after we've seen this huge capitulation which has been going on. It's been quite historic, having rates near zero, feeding a huge rally, and then inflation taking off, rates flying higher, speculative flows disappearing, and stocks collapsing back to earth. So I'm going to show you a lot of charts like this one of Vulcan Energy going from near zero, lithium space in Europe, geothermal energy. It was a real market darling. But the idea behind it may still be valid and may still come to fruition. So this one going to 17 bucks. And there's that really disastrous long-term bear market we've seen in these stocks. 17 bucks back to 3. And it still doesn't look like it's over yet, but getting back to the area where I get interested, looking for a 75 to 87% retracement, and then waiting for signs she's turning back up, and then I'll get interested. But I want to show you a bunch of these charts and have a chat about what we're facing here and how to approach this as the end of this capitulation phase comes into play, and it is coming, and there will be some pretty big opportunities in these former market darlings that survive and end up creating the thing that created all the hype in the first place. This is how markets often work in these cycles, and what you don't want to do is be caught buying it up here and then 2 years later dumping it down here, which is what all of us have done at various times in our trading career. It's how it works, isn't it? So trying to do the opposite, trying to buy low and actually, sell high, it's far more difficult than most people understand. And often you do have to act when it does seem scary. So just to take you through and get a sense of what's actually going on out there, how serious this last period has been over the last couple of years, and think about, how can we approach it? How can we end up making money over the next few years out of, the end of this huge capitulation that we've seen? So just to see a bunch of stocks, get a sense what's happening. This is Novonix. This is a synthetic graphite. Again, in that, EV space, this is where everyone thought we're all going to make millions. All we've got to do is buy a stock and we'll make millions. Going up to over $12. And here it is, back at 78 cents. Real death knell, isn't it, for so many people? And, I really feel for these people who probably didn't understand what they were getting themselves into, buying, and this is what's happening now, is those people are sort of dumping the stock relentlessly over months and months. That's how you get the formation of that rounding bottom, which takes time to take shape because it's clearing out all of this former buying. Everyone has a different point where their pain level is hit, and what often happens is, once it starts rallying, people who have held on will be happy to sell it too after they've suffered through it going to 70, 50 cents or whatever. So you still have weight on the stock. So it can take time for it to finally turn back up, and obviously news and all that sort of thing. So it's still a story for another day on this sort of stuff. But you've got to be contemplating the fact that this could be massive opportunity shaping up in time if you play your cards right in these former market darlings that are now selling dirt cheap. So just to take you through again, let's have a look. Keep looking at these stocks. Lake Resources, $2.60 down to 19 cents. No sign there of life yet. I wouldn't get involved. Would need to wait until you get those buy signals, but just to give you a sense of what's really happening. Wiser, FinTech, former market darling. This one I will chat about another time. I think it could bounce back, that one, at some point. But again, lots of weight on the stock. People giving up on it because of the interest rate situation and bad debt situation. They've got a big loan book. But yes, that's an interesting one. Here we've got Race Oncology. Sorry, the name up here, see Coronado Resources. I think that's an old one. Sometimes the data can be incorrect. But just giving you a sense of these charts, doesn't really matter what they're doing. I'm just showing you this idea of 2020, 2021, huge money printing, rates at zero, speculative boom as everyone got excited about all of this lithium, nickel, etc., EV, it's going to go up forever and ever. And then the chase down of inflation and the complete heat coming out of all this stuff. And it really has been quite incredible and so difficult to trade. I mean, you know, almost untradable, this market, the way it's been moving, just taking everyone out of their positions and even new buyers, you know, just no chance. You know, you could buy. You're still down 50% and it's still continuing to trend down. This one, Lithium Power International, another one, you know, excitement. And boy, is the heat coming out of this stuff. But you've got to think about the fact that it could easily do this. Big rally, big clear out, and then off again once things pick back up. But, you know, just really understanding how serious this has been, this move that we've seen. This is another one, Galileo Mining, you know, great find they had, and it's just been down ever since. $1.90, now it's down at 32 cents. Is there value there now? Because what happens is, once these sell-offs start like this, it really feeds on itself. Because again, people who are buying, new buyers, they end up getting sick of it and dumping it, so that which feeds the selling. People who have bought it all through here, they're in pain. The further down it goes, it doesn't have anything to do with the company's value. It's just get me out. People are trapped and it just keeps going down day after day after day. So it's going to push it down to a level beyond, you know, what is sensible. And this is what can be so difficult about trading, is you can think you know the value of the company, and it really doesn't matter when you've got this sort of stuff going on. It is just pain. It's get me out at whatever price, I don't care. And that's sort of the level we're at the moment. And in the end, that's where opportunity knocks. If you can, you know, have powder dry when these things turn back up. So in the biotech space as well, you know, complete heat coming out of that. 16 cents down to 2 and still selling off. Other sort of biotech ones, you know, it's a similar story of these huge rallies and just constant selling pressure. And now it's just, you know, once it does this, it's just real, panic, basically. So that is what's going on in the market beneath the surface. You have to understand that, because if you don't, you may very well get caught in one of them. So Cat Metals, again, you know, beautiful, strong rally. You would have thought that was a solid purchase. 320, 45 cents and falling. And Emerald Clinics is another one. So hopefully, you know, that's giving you a sense of what's actually happening out there. You've got to be wary, but we're now getting to a point where it is sort of panic stations and just selling at any price. It's going to push this stuff down to silly levels. And there's a case to be made to just start stepping up in some of this stuff. No stop loss, saying, look, they push it way down. This thing could easily bounce back. And when it does, there's a lot to be made from this stuff. Now, if it does just have a bounce back, any sort of bounce back, you can see is going to be multiple hundreds of percent once the tide turns. But tide hasn't turned yet in this stuff. But what is moving is uranium. And I've been telling you about this for a while. I have been hinting that uranium is the place to be searching for opportunities. And look, we're actually in this one. This is URNM, the uranium ETF. I got my guys into that around $6, just here, just above $6, and buying it about a month before the takeoff. And it's all based on, everything that I keep telling you guys in these things, hinting at least. I don't want to give away too much, but giving a sense of these waves, the idea of the buy zones of the waves, getting a sense of when momentum's turning back up, and picking stuff up on the back foot, but I can't give you too many details on exact levels and that sort of thing. But that's pretty much what we've been doing, and I've been saying uranium's a place to get an eye on, keep an eye on. It really is starting to take off now, and I think there's further to go. So, some of the stocks that I'm looking at, and the first two already in. This one's not the right chart. I'll just switch to the right chart. And this is Bannerman. That's one you want to have a look at. Again, in interest of full disclosure, one of my services is already in this from about $1.70, based on all this, the idea, these rallies, pullbacks into the buy zone, waiting for momentum to turn, and then calculations I use to get in. So that one's really taking off, probably chasing it, trying to buy it here, but you're looking for pullbacks, anything sort of back towards the moving averages, longer term moving averages, or retracements of, the monthly bar. But again, can't give you too many calculations. Should be a member of my service, shouldn't you? So you can get into these things. So that one is a pretty interesting one in the uranium space you should be thinking about. I think deep yellow is another one, again, that we're in. Another one of my services is in this one. Similar story of the initial waves higher, seeing the pullbacks, and then waiting for momentum to turn back up. So sort of got in that one around 78 cents recently, just before this blast off. And that one's one to keep an eye on for a pullback, any sort of pullback, back to, I guess, low 90s, 80s. You may not get that, but it's certainly looking pretty good now. Long-term trend shift, looking like it wants to carry on. You never know with the uranium space. I think we're in the early stages of things turning up. So yeah, it's now starting to take off. Any sort of pullback, you've got to be considering how you can get on this stuff. The other ones that I'm looking at, Elevate uranium, is, they're all looking quite similar, of really taking off. They've had an initial wave higher. This one's pulled back in what's an ABC formation. So that's when you have initial wave down, rally that doesn't take out the high, and then it fails below that low at A. So that's what I'd call the A leg. There's your B. This is C down here. And then when you've got the overlap at A, so when the momentum turns back up, you want to get on that, because that's usually a good time, a good risk reward joining of that former uptrend. So that's just a little bit of a thing there, but they're all looking similar, where you've got that momentum shift. Last month in this one was the monthly buy pivot, you can see there. So as this thing sold off for months and months and months and months, you're looking at that lowest price candle on the way down. You want to see a monthly close above the high. There's your monthly buy pivot. And look, it's really rocketing off now, probably getting a bit overstretched in the short term, but it's just giving you that sense that this whole space is now starting to catch a real strong bid. And you've seen what's going on in the other stocks out there. So much is getting absolutely creamed that uranium for me is one of the only games in town worth really looking at closely. And here we have Lotus Resources, again, similar story, long sell-off for quite a long time, and we're just getting that momentum shift. Last month was actually a monthly buy pivot, and now it's really starting to take off. So these things, they probably run pretty hard in the short term, so you always got to be wary of a bit of a pullback. So really looking at this now, saying, well, I think it is going to start taking off. I think we are going to see that this correction is sort of over. We are ultimately going to see that, but nothing ever moves in a straight line, does it? So you're really now, though, looking, saying, I've got to start. If I'm not on board any uranium, you should be starting to have a look. So this is the uranium spot price. And you'll see this is going back, obviously, many, many years. And you'll see that we're just now seeing a breakout from this consolidation pattern that we've had for the last year. So really big picture, it's quite an interesting moment, I guess, for uranium, because really uranium needs to be up here to inspire new production, to get a lot of those either mothballed mines or mines that are haven't been set up yet and need funding, and really they need to see higher uranium prices to get going. So to me, looking at this, it makes sense that this could really start to do this. So looking at that very long-term picture, you've got post Fukushima, complete nailing of the whole sector, years in the doldrums, no investment in exploration, etc., mothballed mines. This is what sets up a bull market, and it takes years to bring stuff online, and we're just starting to see the first real strong upside in this next bull market. So seeing this just recent breakout, and this is why I've been loading up on uranium stocks and ETFs recently, expecting this breakout, and that this could now get a bit disorderly, the move higher. So I think it is still early days, and any weakness is really to be bought at the moment. That's my view. May end up being wrong. That's what a view is. But it just is one of those rare situations you don't often see of how these markets develop, where you've got very long-term bear market, which kills the market completely. And once things get change, and we know now that the world is looking at uranium potentially useful in the transition, energy transition, decarbonisation, etc., that the setup is there for this now to surprise to the upside, I think. And that is, a really, I think, interesting sector in a market that's been just so difficult to pick anything. It's been so hard. This is the area that I'm focused on, and that I think is of interest. All right, well, that's enough for this week. Shall come back with more next week.